great actor and comedian. Put your hands together for Tom Kearney, everyone.
Keep it going for Gary. He's here for you good people. All right, this is fantastic. Any Warrior fans out there? Yeah! Man, I love the Warriors. I grew up in San Francisco, played basketball my whole life in San Francisco, PAL League. And I live in LA now, and I just can't find good. I just can't seem to find a good pickup basketball. The other day, I went and played in Venice Beach, and I gotta tell you, man, it's more trash talk than basketball, and it doesn't look right coming out of me. I don't know. I try. Maybe I'm just too sensitive. I think that's part of the problem. These guys are always talking about my mother and stuff. I'm like, no, you guys that's out of line. She's actually a really nice lady. You should get to know her. I know, I tried. I really did. It just didn't look or sound right coming out of me. It was like, I don't know. It's like Michael J. Fox talking shit. Damn it, Mallory. That was a foul. You made a time machine out of a DeLorean? What, the motherfuckers talking about time machines and shit? If you really want to get in somebody's head on a basketball court, bring up time machines. It does it every time. Oh man, this is fantastic. I gotta tell you, I'm so excited to be here. I haven't been on stage for a year and a half. And this is great. You guys are great. I love you guys. Yeah. It was a rough time though, wasn't it? I mean, it was rough. Quarantine was just, I think it was really tough on relationships. Especially I never spent so much time with one person in my life. You really get to know somebody, and we got on each other's nerves a lot. I'm not gonna lie to you. We were either fighting all the time or having sex. It was one or the other. But it got really interesting when we combined the two. That's when it really got freaky. You get these subtle hints, these little messages. Like when my wife was wandering around the house with a steak knife, I knew it was time to take the dog for a walk. And then she would get on my nerves too, She's always telling me to take the trash out. Could you take the trash out? And so one day I just picked her up and I carried her out to the curb. She was not amused. But I think it must have been a little rougher for single people. Any single people out there? Yeah, well, you probably know what I'm talking about. You remember the CDC came out with guidelines on dating? They're like, we don't recommend you dating, but if you have to, try and keep a 6-foot buffer between you and your date. That must have been extremely awkward. It's like, hey, you look beautiful. I really like your hair. What? I said, I like your hair. Oh no, I'm not wearing any underwear. And then they came out with look, if you're gonna get intimate, try not to have too much contact. Just try not to touch too much. Just the tip. Just the tip. It's crazy. It was crazy. My wife heard that and she loved the idea. So we actually started having sex in separate rooms, which really, really worked out for her. I don't know, it was weird though. You remember that first month of quarantine, man? We didn't see a freaking soul. You went out on the streets and it was completely empty. There's nobody. It was weird, man. It was weird. And then one day there was a knock at the door, and we looked at each other like, who the fuck is that? And I go out to the window, and there's my mom standing there with a suitcase. And I'm like, Mom, I'm looking up, what the hell's going on? What's wrong? And she's like, well, Tommy, I was just thinking that if we have to quarantine, we should probably do it as a family. So that happened. And as soon as she walks in the door, I swear to God, it was like no drinking, no smoking, no doing drugs, no nudity in the house. I mean, for Christ's sake, she didn't follow any of our rules. But my mom, I love my mom. She's a free spirit, She just cannot be contained, Oh, I was going to say, I wanted to ask, is there anybody from the DEA here tonight? No? Okay, good. Yeah, my mom's a drug dealer. And we grew up in San Francisco. We had this house, it had this gate, right? And the hippies would line up at the gate all the way down the block, right? And they would say a password, and then they'd pop in the backyard to get their lids of grass. Back then, it was called grass. Does anybody know what a lid is? What the hell is a lid? In our house, it was 2 handfuls. That was a lid. Anyway, they would get their grass, and then they'd pop out the side gate. It was a pretty good system. Then one weekend, she ran out of baggies, right? And her friend Nancy comes over. She's a nurse. Comes over with a case of surgical gloves. And they stuffed the grass in the gloves, and they sold those. And that was known as the 5-finger lid. It was very famous throughout the Bay Area. You guys ever heard? In fact, give me 5, high 5, that's where that shit came from. My mom's a trip, man. That was the password at the gate. Give me 5, high 5. Oh man, she's an absolute trip. So she ran out of the baggies. It was a big weekend. They ran out of the gloves. It was a big weekend. I don't know, Grateful Dead was playing in Golden Gate Park or some shit. It was a huge success. So Nancy comes over with a case of condoms, right? And they took the weed and they stuffed them in the condoms, and they sold those. And that was known as the 5-inch dick lid. But it didn't really go over as well. And I never understood that, because you could smoke the bejesus out of yourself, right? And then practice safe sex. I mean, it was a win-win, really. But here's the thing. Back then, nobody was practicing safe sex, right? No. It's like, it didn't exist. Safe sex back then would be like, I don't know, not having sex in a moving vehicle. That would be safe sex. Oh, actually, safer sex. That would be safer sex. Growing up in San Francisco was an absolute trip. I ended up going to high school in Petaluma. Anybody? No? Nobody from Petaluma? Nobody from Petaluma? Of course not. Of course not. There's nobody in Petaluma. The biggest joke in Petaluma was you can pet your dog and you can pet your cat, but you can't Petaluma. You know that movie Dazed and Confused? Remember that movie? That was Petaluma in the early 80s. It really was. It really was. We had this kid that used to hang out with us. His name was Merle. And Merle just hung out with us because he liked to go to the parties because he liked to hang out with us and get close to the girls, And Merle would come over and go, hey girls, he'd take a Budweiser and he'd go, all right, girls, hey, I'll check you out later. And he'd put it down. And he'd go over and go, hey girls, what's going on? And he'd take a beer and then he'd go, yeah, all right, I'll check you out. And he'd put it down. Finally, I'm like, fucking Merle! Finish your beer, man. Seriously. And then it became like a thing. Oh, don't be a Merle. Finish your beer, man. Come on. Oh, look, Craig split. he left his beer. He totally Merled it. Totally Merled it. And it became like a thing, Merle became like a celebrity. It was pretty cool. And there's one time we went to a party in Marin. And we didn't know anybody, but there was cute girls there, so of course we were there. And I heard this ruckus in the back, in one of the back rooms, and this guy's like totally yelling at these guys, come on, man, don't be a girl! Don't be a girl, man, finish your beer! Craig and I just looked at each other, we're like, holy shit! And Merle was like the original influencer, It's not like these kids these days, with their TikTok and their hashtags. It was a little more complicated. Merle tossed a wide net. Yeah, Merle was cool. This one time, we went to, we used to go to Keggers all the time, right? And I had this 1972 Plymouth Duster, and the taillights didn't work, and I took flashlights, and I duct taped them. I duct taped them in the car, and then I took Merle, and I stuck him in the trunk. And I'd be like, right turn, Merle. And he'd be like, got it! Got it! So we get to the party, and Merle's out. I don't know what happened. There was like an exhaust leak or some shit. I don't know. But no, we revised him. We revised him. I was like, Merle! Hello, Merle! Wake up, Merle! There he is! There he is! Hey, we thought we lost you, little buddy. All right, hey, why don't you go to the party, Merle? All the girls are waiting for you. All right, Merle, there you go. There you go. Whoa! You're a little wobbly there, huh, Merle? All right, go have fun, Merle. Wrong house, Merle. Merle, the other one. There you go, Merle. High school was amazing. Listen, I have a big round of applause for my mother. She's here today. She's never seen me on stage before. This is her first time seeing me. I'm Tom Curtis. Thanks a lot. You guys have been great.